So Sofascore, they went through and did 100,000 simulations to give scenarios on how this World Cup is going to turn out. So you're going to want to check this out. And they went and taught a math module, all the different metrics, to rate teams, to simulate games, and they did it 100,000 times. You've played in the World Cup, Jimmy.
I have.
Goals are everything. So looking at the teams that are most likely going to get you the goals. Now remember, this is a simulation done 100,000 times. Looking at this, any surprises for you? Spain chopping the tarts?
No. I mean, they're going to play Cabo Verde in particular. They're probably going to get a bunch of goals in that game, with all due respect to Cabo Verde. And then Argentina, France, England. Argentina's a little interesting because they got Jordan, Algeria, and Austria. I think Algeria and Austria are going to sneak up on some people, and I wouldn't want to face them in the tournament, especially in the knockout rounds. France and England, not a big surprise. So no, nothing big here.
Yeah, and on the other side, you also have some of the minnows that are going to take some lumps. They're going to get their lumps, but it's about scoring goals. I'm really happy to see Cape Verde in the World Cup, but not on this side of the graphic.
Yeah, not a big surprise. And I talked about Curacao in the earlier one with Dick Advocaat being the oldest manager, they're being the smallest nation. Them getting 2 goals is actually the biggest surprise of this whole thing. I just don't know where they're going to get them. Against Ivory Coast, Ecuador, Germany. Maybe they get 1, but I'm hopeful they get 2. That would be a big win for them.
Yeah, one team to not sleep on that they've actually been finding some goals, Haiti as well in some of the recent friendlies, but you still got to play the games. Now, I always tune into World Cups, and I hope you do too, to see who are going to be the surprise packages and surprise pick of every international tournament. Now, so Sofascore, they did the simulations, and these are your surprise picks to get through per the bookies, but also per simulations. Now, you might raise your eyebrow given what you saw at the last World Cup with Qatar, but it's all about the group that you're in. So are you buying this, that Qatar has a 24% chance to get in per the bookies and almost a 50% chance for the simulation?
I think what's interesting about Qatar is that that's throwing some shade at Canada in particular, right? Because they're in Canada's group alongside with Bosnia and Switzerland. So they must think that they can beat or best Bosnia in some capacity and have to get some points off of Canada if they're actually going to get through. So sorry, Canada, they're taking a shot at you there. And then the other two, yeah, I could see Panama, they're in a tough group as well, Iraq. Yeah, they've got some work to do, but Qatar's a bit surprising. They weren't the ones that were a big surprise. I actually think, though, with a 48 team and 32 of those 48 go to the next round, it takes away the ability to have any upsets, to be honest.
Yeah, I know a group of people in Africa, they're going to be pissed off seeing this, and it's Ghanaians. I have Ghanaians as my family members.
That's true.
So that's pretty much saying, Ghana, you're going to be out of the World Cup, which is something I'm predicting as well. I think Ghana have a chance to get grouped, and I'm not just throwing shade at Ghanaians.
You're clearly throwing shade.
My Ghanaians.
I don't know about that.
And West Africans. Now, the group that has a lot of interest to you is the USA's group, Group D.
Yeah.
And going into this, a lot of people might say, okay, your Senegal-France group might be the group of death. But when you look at, by the numbers, this is actually the closest group in terms of parity, in terms of quality, in terms of how these 2 teams or 4 teams relate to each other. And it's the only group in the entire World Cup that when you did the simulation, didn't have a single team as a favorite who was 40% to be the favorite or greater. So what do you make of this, Jimmy?
Yeah, I'm not surprised. If you actually have done any of the research, you kind of knew going in that these are really tough teams to play against, including Australia, who I know that our very own Mike Grella has thrown some shade on in particular. but when we first got the draw, it felt like this was a group that was very manageable. And as you can see here, based on the numbers, it's going to be difficult. Every game has its own challenges, but there's no out-and-out winners. And I feel like you could probably flip it. Who are the teams that are going to be the won't get through, or whatever the percentages are going to be? And I think they're pretty even in terms of that, too. So this is a wide-open group, and obviously that whoever gets a result in that first game, Lahoud, is going to put themselves in a good position to get through.
The race, really, for me, is going to be who's going to avoid that last place spot. And I think you're going to see that. It's common sense. Every single group has that question mark. And now I know a lot of people in Sydney that if Mike Grella pissed them off the first time, Sofascore is going to piss them off even more. Are you buying this? I mean, we played, by we, I mean the U.S. men's national team. They played Australia in a friendly. And I think Australia showed that they're better than people give them credit for.
Yeah, I think that Australia play a way they're difficult to break down. They're going to sit in somewhat of a Christmas tree formation, right? So kind of a 4-3-2-1, and just make the game around you. You can't go through them that easily. And if we can't figure that out on how to unlock it, not just us, but Paraguay and Turkey as well, they're going to be a difficult opponent. This is a very tricky group, and Australia is right in the mix. Again, that first game is going to be super important. I could see Australia taking a point off of Turkey. I could see maybe a 1-1 draw there. And if the U.S. can beat Paraguay, I got 2-1 in that game just to get ahead of it for everybody. For the U.S., you put yourself in a great position to not necessarily relax in the next 2 games, but this one's going to be really tight. And I'm hopeful that we can get the full 3 points. I'm a little nervous, everybody. It's getting close. The tournament's getting closer. We've talked about it for so long, so I'm a little nervous.
So obviously having you here, you are one of the faces of Call It What You Want, so we have to talk about the U.S. men's national team.
Yeah, thanks for noticing.
And we're going to do a full USMNT breakdown. Now, per the Sims, the big question is, we brought Mauricio Pochettino in to get this team and this program further than it's ever been before. Obviously, 2002 quarterfinal appearance. Looking at the projections, there's a higher chance to get the round of 32. But per you, Jimmy, per your simulations, can we go the distance?
So you're saying there's a chance? I'm just here for the chance, Lahoud.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. 430 times of us getting to the final or winning the World Cup is awesome. Ultimately, for me, the benchmark should be the round of 16. That's my over-under. If we don't get to the round of 16, for me, this World Cup's a failure, and we got to really reflect on where we are and what we're doing and how we're trying to get there in the future. Quarterfinal, I'd be thrilled. And I think at this point, if we get to the round of 16, then we're going to have a ton of momentum. You're going to have so many fans buying into what we're doing, and I wouldn't want to play us if we got to the quarterfinal. I guess it goes for any round, but ultimately at the quarterfinal, you're going to play a really good team, probably one of the top 8. So you're going to have a good performance to get that the crowd behind you. Round of 16 is that over-under. Hopefully we can do well. If we win our group and we get there, most likely we'll play Belgium. We got some revenge after they beat us in March. But I think this is more than possible. However, I have to state, we've only won 1 knockout round game in our history. It was in 2002, and it was against a familiar opponent in Mexico. So we have to kind of keep it based in reality. But the expanded tournament gives us a chance to win one of those knockout round games against a less than formidable opponent, I would say, than maybe some of the others you'll face. Yeah. This is where we're going to run into somebody that's tough, like really tough. And then hopefully we can figure that out, get ourselves to the quarterfinal. So I would love for us to get here, because then I think, very similar to South Korea back in 2002, when you have the home crowd behind you, some special things can happen, and maybe we can find ourselves there. And then, hey, whatever, we'll play the house money at that point, you know?
Yeah, I'll tell you how much house money. And so per Sofascore, for the U.S. to win, it's as if rolling the dice 3 times and getting 666s in that roll of the dice.
That's
so anything's possible. And if you're Mauricio Pochettino, you said, so you're saying.
That's why we brought him in.
There's a chance.
We brought him in to elevate the program and to take us somewhere we haven't been before. So we'll see if he's up for it.
Yeah, well, as we take a step further back, looking at this World Cup, there's different dynamics or different metrics that go into every single World Cup. And for Sofascore, the big thing is potential upsets. And now at the 2022 World Cup, we saw a lot of potential upsets, right? You saw Saudi Arabia beat Argentina. But so these are 3 teams that Sofascore said, okay, we see that there's a chance that they can make some waves. Obviously, I'd mentioned Senegal. I think they can get to a semifinal. But looking at this, Iran, this is a big statement from the simulator and simulations that they can be an upsetter.
Yeah. I mean, Iran is coming in with there's a lot going on with Iran. I don't know how much time we have to talk about the whole thing, but I do think that could give them something they can get around and galvanize them in a way that's kind of beyond the sport and just gives them that energy to prove that they deserve to be here and can have a good run. Croatia have been excellent in the last 2 World Cups, right? They've done a nice job. This isn't a big surprise. They're a little bit older, so for them to do it for our 3rd time, I think is a big challenge. But I want to hear a little bit more why you think Senegal can do it. I'm not surprised Senegal's in this conversation.
Yeah.
But they just have a nice mix of young and old. I think they're well coached. They have an identity of how they like to play. And there's a little bit of belief, I think, that Senegal maybe hadn't had in the past that they do now.
There's a sense of expectation, this sense of destiny that comes from their manager, Pape, who was part of that 2002 team that definitely was a team to remember. You had the likes of El Hadji and so many players. And so I'm a big believer that we don't see this enough. And maybe you see it with France and Didier Deschamps, who did it at the highest level. But when you're with managers who are former players, who are part of moving the program forward in ways they've never done before, You can now teach that to your players to give that sense of calm under pressure. Senegal is a team that they rise to the occasion. They really grow into tournaments, and I expect them to do that. And now they'll have a healthy Sadio Mane, who the last World Cup they had in Qatar, he actually had a broken leg, was still part of the roster, but didn't see his influence. That's why Senegal crashed out earlier than they would have liked. Now, if you talk African football, you have to talk the two recent AFCON finalists. I know there's a lot of controversy in the courtrooms, but we do our talking on the pitch here on Morning Footy. Now, this is a projection on where Senegal and Morocco are going to end up. A lot of Moroccans are going to be happy to see this number here, but for both of these programs and both these national teams, it's about going the distance for you, Jimmy. Which one are you picking, and do you agree with these numbers?
I feel like Morocco, what a run back in 2022. What was interesting about that run was that they had fired their coach in the lead up to that, and then they hired Walid Regragui 3 months before, and then all of a sudden he just pushed all the right buttons, and they went on that incredible run, got out of the group of death, found themselves in the semifinal, first African nation to get to a semifinal. For them to replicate that, I feel like they snuck up on some teams. Like, oh, look at Morocco, look how cute they are trying to get out of the knockout rounds, and they're probably not as good as we think, and then they go and they were slapping people. They're not going to be able to surprise anybody this time around. Regragui is no longer the manager, right? He stepped away, 4 or 5 months before the start of the tournament, so they're kind of in a little bit of that turmoil, I would say, or not maybe having the same voice. They obviously have a ton of quality. I actually like Senegal to have a better chance to make a deeper run than Morocco this time around.
Yeah, injuries are going to be something to keep an eye on as well. Abde going down with a slight knee tweak or knee sprain. We're going to see the reports. Not looking very good. Mazraoui as well picking up an injury. That left side is looking very, very hobbled going into World Cup. So I expect, personally, think those numbers are going to go down as you get further in the tournament. Now, these are dark horses we're talking about, but it's all about the semifinals and finals. Ultimately, when you do simulations and projections, I don't want to start here. I actually want to go to this side. Looking at some of these names, I mean, one country that not a lot of people are talking about is Colombia. Am I crazy to think Los Cafeteros have a chance?
No, they do have a chance. I mean, they're in a manageable group. They're going to take on Uzbekistan and Congo in particular, where I think they can run up a lot of goals. I think Lucho Diaz is probably one of the most informed players in the world right now, and I think he'll have a good group stage. Once they bounce out of that, they're another team that you just, man, can we play anybody but Colombia? So I actually like that they can make a deep run. I think they're well positioned to make it happen, and they've just got so much quality in every line of the field. And then when you throw in the X factor, James Rodriguez, who doesn't do much at the club level per se, but just is an absolute magician when he puts on the Colombian jersey. You always have a chance when you have those types of players in your team.
Yeah, one team also that I want to really focus on and just give a shout out to, Belgium has made me a believer as of late. This is going to be Jeremy Doku's World Cup to remember. He's looked sensational in the last 3 months, but it's all about the favorites. World Cups usually deliver. I mean, there's been the usual suspects that tend to win World Cups, get to finals, and then get over the line. Of these 4 teams here between England, Argentina, France, and Spain, is there one that just has too much quality that just is going to be the one that just is the better team at the end of the day?
This is a great question, and obviously something fun to dive into. France has got probably the most depth and talent in like every position. And if one player gets hurt, well, great. We have another world-class player to replicate that. And Didier Deschamps, you brought him up earlier. So much experience as a player, as a manager. There's a lot of belief. The guy knows what he's doing. Listen, I still can't get over the fact that in the 2022 World Cup final, Deschamps saw that things weren't working in a World Cup final and made 2 subs in the 30th minute. You know how much courage that has to, and that almost worked. They almost got back into it. And Kolo Muani had a chance to win it at the end. It didn't happen. They lose in penalties. Just as a refresher on that. So with regard to France, they're going to be in the conversation. But for them to get into 3 World Cup finals in a row, I just think that in itself is going to be very difficult, and they might get tripped up along the way. Everybody has one lemon in the tournament. Is it going to be in the group stages? Is it going to be in the knockout rounds? We'll have to wait to see. Argentina go to back-to-back finals or to be in a position to win it twice. Not easy to do. So we'll see what happens with them. Spain, it's going to come down to health. Lamine Yamal. You have Nico Williams, both out right now starting the tournament. They should manage the group stages without them, but once they get back in, how sharp are they going to be? They're really going to be riding or dying with those 2 players in particular who helped them win the Euros. And then England, who knows, right? On any given day, I think Tuchel's a good manager. I think he picked a team that's well-balanced, even though he left off some really talented players, and Phil Foden and Cole Palmer in particular. So you can make a really strong case for each. I just feel like it's going to be hard for France and Argentina to find themselves back in the final. So maybe Spain, England in the final.
Yeah, great stuff, Jimmy. Let us know what you think in the comments. Who's going to be the surprise pick? Who's going to win it all? Get to a semifinal or final?
Thanks for watching this video from Morning Footy. For all news and insights regarding leagues around the world like EFL, Serie A, and all UEFA competitions, both men's and women's, don't forget to sign up for Paramount+.